So in this video, I want to talk about the top priorities that I believe artists should have when considering, creating their artwork. And the fourth priority, the least important of the four, is how well you paint. And usually artists think that's the first one. And of course, how well you paint realism is very important. But if you consider a lot of great artists like Edward Hopper, who's one of my favorite, he may not be, in my view, anywhere near the top realists. In fact, I've always thought, Edward Hopper's faces and hands, really were not a great example of high realism. But he's one of my very top artists in the world, in my view, and I think a lot of people would agree that he's one of the greatest artists. And it's not because his work is defined by how well he paints. It's much more defined by his subject matter and his lighting and composition, and that the very last one being how well he painted it would be number 4. So let me just go through those again, and let's talk about the first one. First priority, I believe, for any artist when he's considering creating a piece of artwork is the subject matter. And if you look at these paintings here, as I speak, I'm going to go through and show you just a whole bunch of different subject matter. And as you can see, it's radically different and completely changes, the mood of the painting. So subject matter is vastly important. I mean, everything, it can just be radically different. And you can see by looking at these paintings the way that it affects you. If you fall in love with a piece of artwork, it's almost always because of subject matter. And it just maybe goes without saying, but it's something that artists forget, and they think they go right to you set up a still life, just throw something on a table, and now all they want to do is think about how well can I paint this. And it's I'm not saying it's not important to learn to paint well. That's what my whole method's about. But learning to paint well is one thing, but you absolutely cannot. You have to consider subject matter, because it's if you succeed as an artist, and if you think about the artists that you love, it's generally because of subject matter. So that's something that you really got to think about. Now that means that if you're going to go out and get source photos to work from, or you're going to look for something to paint, that you don't settle easily. You go and you take 1,000 pictures and maybe pick out 1 or 2 paintings from those 1,000 pictures. The second thing would be, lighting is really important. Mood and the drama is all defined by the lighting. And if you look at this still life here, it's the very same still life and all these different lighting conditions, and you can see how radically it changes the mood and everything else. So I would say lighting would be even more important than how well you paint it. Now, when I say how well you paint it, I mean, obviously, you have to achieve a certain level of realism in order to, make your paintings appealing, perhaps. So I hope that's helpful to you. Going forward as an artist, I think that this video that I'm making now, this message that I'm giving you may be the most important message you hear as an artist. When people take my private class on day 1, it's the first thing I mention to them as they start to set up a still life. I say, look, we've got 6 days in this class, but if you were at home, you may take 2 days and set up, 1,000 still lifes or 500 different, little setups with different variations, and you go through all 500 of those images and then decide, which one is worth painting. And that's what I mean by the importance of subject matter, lighting, composition, and then fourth, how well you painted it. So make sure that your focus, this goes back to what I talk about a lot, which is always try to paint your next masterpiece. If the only way that you can improve as an artist is to strive every single time you paint to paint your masterpiece. It doesn't have to be an extravagant, complicated painting. It might be something very simple, but everything you paint, if you paint it as if it's the last painting you ever painted, you're going to be thinking really hard about subject matter, lighting, and composition, and painting being the last thing you may think about. So it's really important. I hope you'll remember that. Painting paintings that you love, where you love the subject matter and you're happy and excited about the composition. That's how you paint masterpieces. That's how you paint paintings that really move people and that really have impact. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't been to GenevaFineArt.com, that's my paint supply company. We sell easels and paint and palettes. and all kinds of things. So go check that out. And thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.